Hello. So, a few weeks ago, I had the great opportunity of interviewing Sean and Deana Kiner of Kiner Music, and many of you know their work from The Bad Batch, The Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, and the upcoming live action show Ahsoka. They compose the music for these shows along with their father, Kevin, who was the original composer of Star Wars The Clone Wars, and then they joined him as a collaborative team on Star Wars Rebels. Uh, I had a great time talking to them, and they're very knowledgeable of not only Star Wars music, of course, but have a wide range of musical knowledge, and it was just a really great time getting to talk with them. So, without any further ado, here's my interview with Sean and Deana.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is Plo Cool here, and I am joined by Sean and Deana Kiner. And Sean and Deana, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sean.
Hi, I'm Dina.
All right.
We do music for Star Wars things, if you didn't know.
And some other things as well.
Just a handful
Yeah,
of
just a
other.
handful.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just get right into it. One of the questions that I had kind of going into this interview is you two obviously, grew up surrounded by music with your dad, Kevin. And one thing that I was just interested in, obviously being surrounded by, your dad composing, was it something that you kind of knew from a very young age? It's like, oh, I want to do that too.
No,
Um,
not at all.
No?
You, Dina?
oh yeah, so I was really complicated because when I was really young, it was like very much like the main goal. I would see him work and I would like pretend to do like the job with him, and like every time somebody asked me, like this was like elementary school age probably, and I was like, what job are you gonna do when you grow up? And I was like always like composer. And then like I think as soon as I hit middle school, I was like, hell no. I am never doing that. That shit is crazy. Um, and so like through like middle school and high school, I was like dead set, like not gonna do that. But I was still like musical. I played instruments and like still like learned how to play and like and write somewhat. Um, so I was like, you know what? I don't really have like a good trajectory. I'm pretty good at music, so I'll go to school for music. So I went to Berkeley, College of Music, and when I got there, I was like, okay, I'll try film scoring. I'll try it. Couldn't do it. I was like, this is crazy. Like this is too hard. I literally came home like my first winter break, um, watched my dad work, and I was like, this is impossible. I don't know how he's doing this. So I was like, I need a shift. So I went to songwriting, and yeah. So basically, I never did. Or like I did a couple times in my life, and yeah, by the time I got out of college, I was just like playing in some bands. I was working at Starbucks, and my dad was like, just try
Mhm.
a couple. And I was like, okay, like I'm not gonna be good, but I'll try it. And it just kind of kept building, and he just kept giving like me few more things, few more like he would like kind of guide me, and like yeah, he really kind of nurtured it, or like he saw that I was capable of doing it. So I kind of wound up in it
Mhm.
in a really lucky way in a sense. But yeah, much longer answer than Sean. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
mean, well, it's because it's a lot more straightforward. I started as a music editor in a kind of an unorthodox
Oh, nice.
like manifestation of that role where I was taking old cues, the stems of old cues, breaking them down to their constituent parts and then remixing them into new scenes for new cues. Um, and eventually I got really I got frustrated by the limitations after a number of years. I knew exactly what a scene needed, or what we would usually do. It was a great like kind of training wheels kind of thing for me to learn how to like map out a scene and follow it with music. But eventually there were a lot of limitations, and I was like, I know I need this cello line or this melody somewhere. Just give me a tiny like octave and a half keyboard and like some rudimentary patches, and I'll be able to fill it in. And so
And
that's
you
what I
wrote on that for a long time, right?
yeah, way too
Like
long because I'm
months.
stubborn. And I'm a stubborn idiot. And so I actually, yeah, for like the first 2 years of my composer career, I only had an octave and a half. I was like, oh, it makes me think outside the box. No, it's stupid. Um, in a way, it was okay. No,
Totally doable, clearly.
I mean, all I really needed to do was actually like, just be purposeful with things. But I was starting out, and so I didn't really know what I was doing at all. And so, anyways, back to it. I would replace that cello stem with my own thing, and then eventually I was replacing more and more, and over time it just kind of very organically turned into everything was my original material, and
Nice.
ended up doing that. I started music editing on Clone Wars, and then I think I started like truly composing by Rebels.
Okay. So how about you, Dina? When did you guys start at the same time when composing, or do you come on to work with your dad at a different time?
Uh, Technically a different time. Sean was music editing before I was working for my dad. Um, so we've always kind of, or like I've always been working with both of them.
Hmm.
But yeah, I started just with composing just like little cues, little things, and like smaller projects, just like kind of whatever like needed a little bit like of extra help. And things that like I was really intimidated by it. It was always stuff that was like I didn't feel like I was going to be overstepping basically. Like I didn't want to do Star Wars right off the bat. I was like that's impossible. There's no way. Um but yeah, so sorry, was the question?
Oh, it was when you got started on composing with Rebels and all that, but you answered
Yeah,
it. You answered it.
okay. I want
Um,
to say like a year into working.
Yeah, your
okay.
first show,
My
your
dad.
first show was Making a Murderer, I want to say.
Mhm.
That was
It
Okay,
wasn't the
nice.
first, but yeah, that was the one that was like for real, like doing lots and lots of
yeah.
work on it. Was Making a Murder.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing that I've also, because yeah, I grew up obviously watching the Clone Wars. Music was a huge part of what I loved about it. And I have vivid memories of the audio being too high at night and that theme just blasting and waking up my parents and all that. Um, but now like growing up and just realizing, that thinking it was just your dad, Kevin, for a while, and then you two getting involved. What is the collaborative process like now? Like how do you guys work together?
It's really streamlined by now because Kevin isn't really like correcting anything, so we have pretty much full autonomy. Really, what it is we throw all of our cues up into like a bin. Well, now it's on whatever Lucasfilm's proprietary thing, but we collect it all into one place, and we're able to like instantly get feedback from an expert, and it's fantastic, and it makes us all write faster. There's three of us, so we're already writing 3 times faster than anyone can, but then we get
Hmm.
instant feedback. We like sketch something out, we give it we put it up, and then I get feedback from Dina and Kevin within like 20 minutes or whatever. They'll like stop what they're doing, and they'll listen. And same goes for all three of us. We're able to just get feedback from each other, like, oh, I like this. Oh, could you bring this out? I think that I like this element, but it needs to be supported, or it's getting lost in the mix, or what was your thought process here? It's great. It's a really well-oiled machine at this point, because we know what each other's strengths and weaknesses are. We know what our own weaknesses are just by having constant feedback and things, and we're able to work on things. And we're really vocal about what our own process is, so that the other two know what we're putting into it, or what we're trying to get out of, or what we're experimenting with, and they can give feedback like intentionally to say whether that's successful or not. I'm rambling, but it's amazing. It's a really
Hmm.
fantastic process, because usually you have to like wait a long time to get a fresh ear on your
Right.
own work, and instead
That's a really good
it
point.
instantly, right? So it magnifies and accelerates what we're able to do.
Yeah, a lot of the time when we're first starting a project, like this very much happened with Ahsoka, we'll sit in the same room around a piano, or around a computer or whatever, makes music basically, and we'll just kind of like spitball ideas back and forth, just like in the room. It's kind of nice that we all know that we're not very good at piano. Kevin's probably he's the one who's been practicing the most. I actually don't know if he's the best piano player out of the three of us. Um, but like we're so comfortable with each other that like we're like it's really easy to listen and be like, oh, you know what? Like, what if we had the melody like let's like modulate here, or like let's have it shift so that it darkens right here because like this character has that aspect to them, right? Or like just like having that immediate kind of like um building themes for something
Yeah,
that we're
and
starting
it can
with.
get very granular like that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And it's all
And
we all
sometimes
do
it just
have.
doesn't even turn into anything. Sometimes it was just like good exercising, just
Hmm.
like
That is true.
practicing.
When we found out that we got Ahsoka, like you and I panicked and started immediately spitballing, brainstorming ideas. And
Could
Kevin was
not
like, "I
stop
don't want
thinking
to
about
like
it.
think about this," but we kept like hey, emailing him constantly, like so much, especially in that first week.
Yeah.
And a lot of that ended up on the cutting room floor. But it was worth it. There were like a lot of things that I think would not have been successful had we tried them initially on the show and then sent them to to Lucasfilm, to Dave.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we ended up not using them
Right.
the first time,
Totally.
and kind of just like failing a lot first. And I think that our first like musical full essay was really successful as a result.
Yeah. I don't know how other composers write music to a script, to be honest. It's crazy. It's just like it feels like guessing. It's like I don't know
Mm.
what the actor's gonna do. I don't know what like the cinematography, what the tone in the scene, what the moment is like. I have so much more trouble
Yeah,
with
because like
reading
it
scripts.
was
But
our
as
first.
soon as I see a picture, I'm like, oh, obviously it goes like that.
Right.
Feels like
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we were really wrong.
Yeah.
With the initial idea. Mm.
Yeah.
What? So with Ahsoka, obviously we can't talk about. I won't ask any about any details of the show or any, but just the general musical aspects of making it. Whereas, how close does Dave work with you on the score?
Funny, you
Uh,
want to take
yeah, like really closely. We our usual process, the way that we usually do things is we sit down and have a spotting session where there's temporary music, we call it temp music, in there, and that's kind of like the main language and like stepping stone into a conversation about the creative approach for any given scene. And Dave will say what he likes about that, and then we'll suggest certain directions, and he'll say whether that's good or bad. But mostly it's kind of stream of consciousness from Dave saying like what the process was and what the point of the scene is, and what he wants to get out of it. And so then it's after that. It's our job to kind of like think about what he said and then try to think of what we can do to best bring that out. Or even we'll have some ideas that he didn't talk about, and we'll attempt to make a scene like speak a different way.
there
Uh,
there's a moment in episode 1 pretty early on that was he was like, this is a big swing. I have no idea how you can even possibly do it. And we were just like, okay, so took like the biggest guess and we're so happy with the way that it turned
Oh,
out.
that's
Like
cool.
it's a really wildly different thing from the initial way that like all of us thought it was. It like really developed like lots of hands on the ball, lots of like, oh, what if we tried this? Oh, what if we like brought this in? And what if I'm so excited for that episode or the first episode to come out so I can really dig into it. I think one thing that I don't know that a lot of people know, Dave Filoni is like really, really educated in music. Like
Hmm.
he has like a huge like depth of knowledge about like classical music, especially, but like
Interesting.
film score also, but like like cool like 80s bands and like everything. He's really, really knowledgeable about it. Like he like knows like basically all the instruments of the orchestra. Like he basically like the only thing that's stopping him is that he never played an instrument or practiced an instrument
Hmm.
to my knowledge. Like I'm not 100% sure, but like he knows a lot about music.
You'll catch a lot of musical references and leitmotifs that we're not expecting that he would catch. Um, and that makes it really cool when he gives us feedback, because he's able to like
Hmm.
speak that language a little bit more. Sometimes that can be detrimental actually, but he absolutely keeps his focus on keeps his focus on the story, how the score is affecting things, and all that musical knowledge. He only uses it when it's productive, or if he's has a very specific idea about things. So that's really great,
But it,
and that's part of the process. Is he will kick things back. He'll like give opinions on it, and then we'll have to alter things. Hopefully, not too much.
Hmm.
but it's really steered us in like ways that we probably never would have been able to go or would have thought to go when he pulls like an old like classical piece out and he's like, okay, this is kind of like maybe a direction we can go for this. And honestly, like it has really led to some of our best like musical moments, like or at least some of my favorite ones. Like it he's really incredible to work with.
Yeah.
Wow.
He fosters a very positive. We never feel afraid to take a big swing or
Hmm.
any cue, because a lot sometimes if there's a difficult client, you get really gun shy
Yeah.
and you start outputting very mediocre stuff. But Dave encourages us to take really big swings and try out of the box things.
Well, uh, this was actually one of the questions I got from my followers. It's actually my friend Jackson, he composes stuff for he does short films. But he had a question. How do you like? Did you take you have a lot of music to work with these characters in Ahsoka? So did you like go back to Clone Wars and Rebels and kind of see like, okay, what can we take and how do we use that to influence the sound with Ahsoka?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, what would you call them, legacy characters. We have Ahsoka and Sabine, and Hera in the show that's been released, right? And so we wanted to make sure that there's a narrative through line, musically, with them. And that was actually, it's interesting making the leap between like specifically with Sabine from Rebels to Ahsoka, because you know it's like there's just a different kind of creative approach that you have to take, using melody, and we ended up doing things with a lot more kind of, maybe I wouldn't, maybe elegance isn't the right word, but there's an element of subtlety that you have to use for leitmotif in these, that can be really rewarding, because you hide the theme,
Hmm.
not hide it, but you don't just pronounce it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You start with the drama of the scene, and then you can see if you can recontextualize the melody in order to play it in that scene to say something. It's like, oh yeah, we're not going to just play Sabine's theme here, right? This is a scene where she's sad or she's happy or she's like angry or whatever it is, right? It's like, can we make an angry sound? Can we get anger out of this melody?
Mm.
Can we get sadness out of this melody? And if we don't, then we end up not using it, right?
Yeah,
Even if it's a big moment.
yeah, when like again when we first got brought on to Ahsoka, like that is kind of all I did. I just went back to Rebels and just watched like as many episodes as I could, just like really studied the way that we approached these characters, and it was it was really fun to see how differently we did Rebels than we did Clone Wars.
Mm.
And yeah, we learned so many things. There's so many cool things that we got to like bring back, and I'm really excited
I'm
about
watching you dodge all the moments in your head.
I
So hard not
know.
to talk about specific moments because
There's
there's so much. I'm like, oh, I could just use this like
Uh-huh.
concrete example. Be like, oh, you know this scene. No, you don't know that scene. I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Give me a big
like, I'm
bombshell
so
leak here.
sorry that I
Yeah.
have to be talking as vaguely as possible, where it's
Yeah,
You're
just
totally good.
like, and then we did something, and it
Hmm.
sounded like an idea.
I'm excited for you to hear it.
I will ask, so Thrawn's theme is one of my absolute favorites. Can we talk about, is that coming back? Or if you can't answer, that's fine.
Feel like it would be better if we just didn't say anything.
Then don't say it. Yeah,
Oh,
I don't want to put you in a tight spot, but that's just a personal question of mine because I really do love that theme. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, thank you very much.
I think people are gonna have fun with it. I think it's gonna.
I said I wouldn't put you in a tight spot earlier, and then I'm doing just that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You know, here's what I will say. Like circling back to the question about the difference between the animated earlier stuff and now live action Ahsoka. Um, the Rebel, like Clone Wars, was obviously rooted in the what John did for the prequels, right?
Hmm.
And Rebels was a lot more like A New Hope.
Mm.
With this, we ended up going with kind of like, more of a samurai aesthetic, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
And
yeah.
went back to composers that Japanese composers and that
Yeah.
kind of filmic tradition as a creative foundational reference. There's obviously still a lot of very Star Wars stuff in there, but in the same kind of way that like there's like Western elements to Star Wars music and its DNA. There's also a lot of samurai stuff in there,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it meshes surprisingly well.
Did you specifically go, because I know Dave loves Kurosawa. He'll mention him. So were those the main films you went to, or are there some other maybe kind of lesser known ones as well?
I mean, I don't know what's lesser known. I'm really not much of a film buff. I There's this film
There
called
was one that you kept going back to, though.
Harakiri, but it has two cues in it.
Oh,
Only two moments. There's only two
yeah.
musical moments.
But we
Mhm.
kept listening to it, so
That's a good movie. If you haven't seen
I
Harakiri,
I
it's a
don't
hard
think
watch,
it
but it's
actually
good.
ended up ever like really sounding like that movie, but like it still really influenced the way that we kind of approach the tonality of a lot of the more like samurai kind of sequences. One thing I can say about the theme is I think you'll be really happy with the soundtracks that come out.
Okay.
That's probably, I'm pretty
Yep.
sure that's safe. It's
Hmm.
not like finalized. Masters are still yet to be printed, but it's it's a cool soundtrack.
Oh,
We're,
yeah, I
hope,
have no doubt.
we're hoping that pretty much every single cue, except for a handful, are making out. It's going to be a staggering amount of music. Yeah,
Excellent.
knock on wood. That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Who knows what we'll end up getting, but you know, we've got a lot of really cool people, trying to help us out with this. So
That
And
actually
Dave loves music.
leads nicely into the next question I have, and you might not have an answer, but so we have the first two seasons of Rebels released, the soundtracks, and you've probably been asked this before, but season 3 and 4 have been kind of in this limbo
I
area for a
know.
while. Is there any status on that? Like if those are getting released, or are they just
How
kind of?
much do you know that we have in the archive? Do we have we probably have the whole show in the archive, right, Dina?
I think there was some stuff that got lost.
There's some stuff from my computer that got lost.
Yeah.
Half my fault.
Yeah.
And just long story short, my entire drive got wiped, which erased every single thing that I'd ever done.
Oh, that's devastating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it made it onto the show, so it's
Yes.
just somewhere. That's one complication.
We'll
Um,
just rip the audio like from YouTube.
yeah, right. No, I'm pretty sure that we've got stuff in the archive, but we ask about this pretty frequently, and we keep trying like different avenues. It's it's something that we really want people to have. I know that it's inconvenient when it's just like on our website. It's hard to listen. People listen on Spotify.
Oh, is season 3 and 4, is it on the website?
And there's some. There's like
Okay, I didn't actually know that, so that's good to know.
maybe I'm
Yeah.
wrong. I'm pretty sure that
Crash our website, please.
Yeah.
Kinermusic.com.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let us know on Twitter or Threads or whatever.
My
if you'd rather
biggest
us just,
advice is tweet at, or actually who knows, X at, is what it's called now? You X somebody.
Oh yeah. Oh, whatever that
But
fool is up to over
go
it.
on social media and tag like Disney music. They're like, that's kind of who it's up to.
Yeah,
Like,
I figured
we
it.
would love to
Yeah.
come out with all of this music, but like there's a process, and there's
maybe
like
we're not allowed to take
legal
Yeah.
things that have to happen before that kind of thing. Because it was Disney XD, so yeah, Disney music would be just
Disney. Yep.
bug them. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured it wasn't something that I knew it. Like you guys weren't like intentionally holding it back. Like, no, we're pearl clutching. It's just like that wouldn't make any sense. But okay, I totally get that. One
And
of the
CD, we're gonna auction it off. All profits go to me.
yeah. One of the
Any of our fans own like a record, like a vinyl printing place, just
Oh,
email.
you know what? That's actually not the worst idea. We should like print a buttload of CDs if we ever end up going to a con or something like that.
We'll just
like,
burn a bunch of blank CDs.
and be like,
bring
hey,
back CD burning.
sorry, 3 and 4 is here. Maybe we'd still get into trouble. No, it's
We'll
like
just be in the back alley at SGCC.
It would be one of the you can get the random booze that you can get bootleg Blu-rays or something at a convention. You're just gonna find season 3 and 4 of the soundtracks of Rebels.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but they never put us up in any con. So if you ever see a panel, remind us that we said we'd do this, and maybe we'll get something together.
Make a flash drive.
Oh, that's a better idea. A bunch of USBs.
Pass it around, yeah. So I was listening to Tales of the Jedi soundtrack earlier today. And really, really love, especially the stuff with Dooku. And honestly, it reminded me a lot of Phantom Menace. And was that something, especially Dooku's Fall, that title specifically, was there something that, like, how did that come together, that piece? I'm just curious.
It's tough to remember specifics at this point. We've output so much music that like our brains would just like there would be no point. Our brains would run so slow with so little leftover space.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally get that.
Cello, right? It's some kind of solo cello.
No, that's the Dooku's Fall is the vocal one.
Yeah.
So that was a big Dave Filoni direction. He was really set on the idea of like those kinds of vocals to express the kind of tragedy that was like occurring for both Dooku and the Jedi Order in that moment. And yeah, and so like I worked with one of my friends, Anne Marie Palubet, to sing and some choir in Budapest. I wish I remembered the name of their group, but yeah, they sing on tons and tons of media these days, and they're really, really just like we tried to steer them into like a very like unclean kind of sound with their vocals, and like just be as like way less pretty than usually kind of thing. And like just every take it was like, okay, tragedy. I was like, okay, no, tragedy. And just like like tried to really hammer home how like just like destroyed these characters are at this moment. And so yeah, great steering from Dave Filoni yet again.
Yeah, that just, it really does feel raw. So it's interesting that those vocals. That was like a direction. That's interesting. Um, okay, I'm gonna pull up some of the questions I got
Sure.
on my Instagram. Um, Zoom has it to where I guess they make you upgrade it now. So I'm gonna in a few minutes I'm gonna stop the recording and then restart it because they're making me end it.
Okay.
So just doing what we can.
I'll go on Instagram and you can message me.
Yeah. Okay, if my Instagram allowed.
I've been making Raven listen to the Peacemaker soundtrack again.
Appropriate. I guess the music gotta be really fun. No
Yeah.
swearing in the
That would
show
actually
notes.
be something. This doesn't have to be exclusive to Star Wars. I saw because you two worked on that show with another composer, right?
Clinton Mansell.
Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
that was. I haven't watched all of the show, but did you that opening theme?
Not us.
That wasn't it.
No, no, that was
You,
what is the
you
name of
want to
that
taste
group?
it,
But they're
but
like a Swedish,
Oh
like
yeah, because that's a vocal song. Yeah, the dance number like always cracks me up.
no, it's just the
it's so
best
good.
opening. It's incredible.
Okay, let's see. Okay, well, one question. This is a good one. What are your favorite themes you've written?
Oh man. Um, you know, love Sabine's theme. Thrawn and Omega are up there. I don't know. Favorite's hard. I don't know.
Omegas is probably one of my favorites that we've made.
Yeah, like I associate it with like the birth of my daughter, right? And so it feels
Mm.
very. It's hard to separate it from like parental
Yeah, but
feelings.
even taking it out of like the personal kind of aspects of it, I think it's just like a really lovely piece of music that yeah. Um that's definitely one of my favorites. We have one that's coming up that I had a lot of fun making. Um can't talk about it, but it's
Is it
good,
the?
I
Is it
think.
the? I think I know what you're talking about. That is a good one. Barry
Uh,
Williamsy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Um that one's fun. Uh in the past. Oh, yeah. Okay, no, I can't talk about that one.
there we go. I think that's a good. I think those are good enough answers.
You've done a good job catching yourself.
I'm just sprinkling like watch our show. It's gonna be so
Hmm.
fun.
Okay, we'll see what some of the others. What was actually I was interested in as well. Who are some of your favorite composers?
Oh man, okay. So easy answer, of course, John, right? But I mean that's a boring answer, so that y'all want to know like different answers. And I love Ramin Djawadi. I think that he's just a fantastic lyrical um, composer who just does some of my favorite stuff ever. He's great. A lot of the ones that are getting a lot of attention now, it's kind of like, okay, of course, I like those guys. They're awesome, and everybody knows them. But I feel like Ramin, maybe Ramin is also celebrated, but I don't know. I feel like he doesn't get his due.
On a personal level, I'm probably biased, but I honestly think that he's like one of the greatest composers right now is Gustavo Santaolalla, who
Mm.
you've worked with multiple times, but he just nobody approaches music and like especially film score the way that he does. So I think he's incredible. I'm biased, but he's good. Um, but if we're not talking about people we've directly worked with,
Hmm.
I love Ryuichi Sakamoto, who did like The Last Emperor,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
did The Revenant, but he's like mainly kind of like a I don't know what you would call him, like not avant-garde, but like neoclassical, maybe piano compositions. But he makes beautiful stuff. Somebody else who's another piano-based composer Hania Rani is, I believe she's from Poland, but she just has like a really like lovely what's the word for it? Just kind of like deftness, and also like it's really like meditative kind of approach to music, and I love that kind of thing where it's like kind of wafting, and it's kind of like just the same idea, kind of building and building. It's something very much that Ryuichi Sakamoto does as well, where it's like a similar kind of like motif just repeating and kind of growing and building, and I really love music that does that. And yeah, I could probably go on, but one of the embarrassing things about me is that my brain shuts down when I'm asked questions, so I literally have to scroll through my Spotify.
I
Like,
totally get that. No,
where I'm just like, oh yeah, they're great. Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is not to slight anyone that we have left out, because I mean, the great thing about working in this industry is that, you know, people who are technically our competitors are people that we really admire and just like love the heck out of their work. We just get to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now let's see. Some of these other ones.
Love your Finn and Jake tattoo. I never get to see it. You wear a sleeveless thing.
Okay, so this is a one question. Is there a difference between composing for animation and live action?
Less and less these days. You know, kind of depends. You know, it's more to these days. There's the animators are so good at the subtleties of expression and performance for the digital actors that like you don't really have to overcompensate in the music, and you can really just score it kind of like a live action thing, to the point where I think that even just the difference between animated project to animated project is maybe more significant than the difference between you know, animation and live action, because you know, at least with the Star Wars stuff that we're doing, Ahsoka's vibe is different. That's why the music is different, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bad Batch is, you know, A Team, Dirty Dozen kind of, you know, and so that's why that sounds different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, and also because it's all in the like the genre of Star Wars music that John Williams created, it's all very expository score, anyways. You know, so that doesn't change really. You know, Star Wars music tends to be a lot more expository than other film score. When we're doing other lives, when we're doing
So, two things here I want to mention real quick while I'm editing this interview. So our recording cut off because Zoom now puts a limit on how long your meetings can be. When I had set up the interview, I didn't know about this. So that's why it cut Sean off right in the middle of his answer to that question. And so, shout out to Dina for setting up the second half of this interview by starting a meeting herself. And secondly, a few minutes ago, I had mentioned the Peacemaker opening theme, which is done by Wigwam. And the song is called "Do You Wanna Taste It?" I feel stupid for forgetting that was a song completely unrelated to the Kiners' work on the show. I haven't watched much of it. I need to go and finish it, but I feel, yep. So, anyway, without any more delay, here is the rest of my interview with the Kiners.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Okay, sweet.
There we go.
All
Perfect.
right. So
Very nice.
what were we were talking about differences between live action and animation.
That's right. I was going to just really quickly throw it over to Dina by saying that, like, when we work on other live action things, you know, those tend to be a lot different because of the different approaches. You know, like, I don't know, what's a live action show? Narcos maybe is like a good example. You could talk about how different that is.
Yeah, it's really just like a genre thing. It's just scoring comedy, and even scoring different comedies, like going from like what Jane the Virgin to like Guardians of the Galaxy goes totally different, right?
Yeah.
You know, like they're both technically comedies and they're all a lot of jokes and stuff, but like the way that we have to hit them is very different, and the kind of music we have to be playing is very different. So I don't honestly find that I haven't found it to be wildly different, scoring animation to scoring live action, especially with the kind of stuff we've been doing with Bad Batch and Tales of the Jedi. It maybe sometimes it matters with age groups. Like sometimes we will something dark will happen and we'll be like, okay, let's not make this like harrowing. Let's make this like emotional and still match the tone of it, but let's not like scare the crap out of these kids. Even though we
Sometimes they'll tell us to scare them.
Yep.
Let's scare the crap out of these
we
kids.
break that rule plenty, but
Right.
technically we don't.
Sometimes, yeah, that's true. We will soften things sometimes, and you know, that might even happen though sometimes on just like on a live action thing, anyways, right?
Exactly. Like if we're doing like some other like younger aimed like Disney project, but it's still live action, it's gonna be that's how we're gonna match energy, is like when we know like the instrumentation is, like what the style we're doing, and like who our audience is and who we're trying to connect with.
Definitely. So actually the Siege of Mandalore is one of my, I think that's any Clone Wars Star Wars fan would say it's one of their favorite Clone Wars arcs.
Great
But
episode.
I specifically, the music for the Siege of Mandalore is, to me, some of the best Star Wars music ever. But there's one moment specifically that just stays in my head, is when Maul is being transported. He's in that huge
yeah.
that block, and it's very ominous. The music, it reminded me of Blade Runner. I don't know if that was one of the influences for some of the music in Siege of Mandalore, or is that not intentional?
No, it's definitely, we used a lot of analog synths. Well, you know, simulated analog synths for that. What did Dave say? I think Dave said for that scene, or maybe I just have it in my head, that it's like the galaxy is holding its breath. You know, you know, this is like, it's you know, to the characters, it's a victory, right? They've defeated this guy. You know, they've defeated Maul, and they're taking him out in chains, or in the Hannibal Lecter block thing. And but like, you know, we all know what's about to happen, right? And they kind of get an inkling that like, hey, something's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you know, for
Something
what
feels
ended up.
off. There's the disturbance in the force.
Yeah. And you know, in that same way that, like, you know, the Force allows you kind of a future sight, I think that there it was a you know, they subconsciously knew something was going to happen. I think that that's what we ended up playing.
But we like when it comes to like analog synths, it's actually something we've really picked up working with Clint Mansell on Peacemaker, on Doom Patrol Hunter. Like we've been doing it for so long at this point, and like we had never really gotten to engage with those instruments in that capacity, and we learned like the like breadth of what they were capable of, and like the kind of like emotions that they can evoke, and that was like that had a huge impact. I don't know that we would have been able to do that season if we hadn't been working so heavily on all of those other shows. And
Interesting.
yeah, huge impact, huge. Yeah, and it like we're so it was really fun just learning how to like score with them. It was so different for us, and it was still so fun. Like I love what we've done on Doom Patrol and stuff.
Yeah, great show. Watch it.
That's one that's on my watch list.
It's
But
weird.
yes, that's what it makes it appealing to me.
You'll have a good time.
You gotta love anything Grant Morrison related.
Oscar-winning Brendan Fraser
Yes, indeed.
just making
Um,
a lot of fart jokes.
Dropping the most F-bombs. He's fantastic.
Brendan Fraser's character.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing.
it's incredible.
What was it? Even just going more Peacemaker. How was James Gunn? How did you work with him?
Really, really great to work with James Gunn. Yeah, like really, honestly, like really easygoing. It was just like I think that project was itself just so fun, and it had such a like visible heart on its sleeve. It knew exactly what its character was. Everybody was on the same page. It really felt like we were all just kind of like having a really fun time. I think like I bet a big part of it was like it was one of the first projects out of the pandemic
Mm,
that that had been like filmed like post pandemic.
hmm
And so I think everyone was really excited to be finally working again. Everyone was really excited about like what we were making, and yeah, so it really felt just fun, especially because it was trying to just be fun and goofy, and it was easy to like meet it at that level.
Right. But it also really fit the moment too, because it wasn't shying away from a lot of questions. And he's like, he can be a real shit heel sometimes.
Uh, so
Not James Gunn, sorry.
Yeah,
no, yeah, you're good.
Peacemaker.
You're good. You're good.
The character. Oh my god, oh my god.
We're about to, yeah. Oh
No, no,
goodness, cause some controversy here. No. Um, this was one question that stood out to me, but this is my friend Jennifer. She said a lot of movie TV scoring is moving away from the big orchestra sound.
Huh.
Your work in Star Wars still gives us that big sound. Is there still a place for that outside of Star Wars?
I have been actually wondering this exact same thing. I've been really thinking about this. It's really hard because it has almost become its own kind of genre. Um, where like if you're doing like a slice of life indie, and then all of a sudden you play like, really heroic themes,
Hmm
and like and it's tough because that genre is or like big orchestral Williams music is so specific to space opera, right? Or it's so specific to like even like listening to like Fablemans, he has a very different
Mm.
sensibility. He reflects what the picture is doing, like he's a professional freaking composer. So like he knows how to do it, but like yeah, like he doesn't do Star Wars when there's not lightsabers and there's
hmm
not blasters and stuff happening. And it's as soon as you do start doing that on something that's not Star Wars but still has lasers in it, you're like, they're just kind of stealing from Star Wars.
Yeah.
They're just kind of this is
hmm
just
I
Star
think
Wars right now.
Yeah, I think that obviously you don't do Star Wars or John Williams for a lot of TV, but the thing about TV these days is that everything's so niche, that pretty much
hmm
every genre exists and is being supported and has probably a great show that I've never heard of, so I think there will always be a place for orchestra. Budgets are a limitation, right?
hmm
Because you tend to not want to put that much money towards paying for a live orchestra, but it is really worth it. It truly is worth it to be able to do that. We had live orchestra for every single cue for Ahsoka, and
Wow.
it made a huge difference in what we were able to just even what kind of ideas we were able to try out with live. They sound good with the the strings and the brass in the box. um yeah, there's always going to be room for it as long as there's like room for adventure. That orchestra is a part of the grand conversation that is musical art, and I don't think it's going to be left by the wayside. It might evolve somewhat, but there'll always be a place for like lyrical orchestra.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I feel like the whole, yeah, like you said, there's just so many different genres now, and everything. It's just like there's anything and everything. So it's just like it's. I kind of, instead of it being limited, I feel like things have expanded in a sense.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's part of why there's not really as many unifying shows that everybody's obsessed with. You know, those are a
Mm-hmm.
little more rare these days because, shows with more broad appeal are generally going to be less appealing to you if you have a very specific niche that you enjoy much more, right? It's like, why am I going to go for the broad appeal thing when I've got this, like, oh, I'm obsessed with giant robots and I want to watch giant
Mm-hmm.
robots and I've got an amazing show to watch about giant robots. Once you finish, then you can go and watch that. But it's what makes it difficult. Everything's everything's it's all spread out more. It's the same with music. I think that's why like things like Taylor Swift are kind of a phenomenon that
Mm-hmm.
she's uniting so many people. Right? Wonder what the equivalent is for TV.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's neither
For
here nor
Taylor
there.
Swift.
Sorry, I'm wandering.
No, you're good. Um, let's see. This one. So, who specifically on the team, if anyone, is responsible for creating Omega's theme? It's so gorgeous, and I wanted to know for so long who came up with it specifically.
Oh, I think we've said in the past that that I'm the one that came up with it. It was right when the I don't know what pandemic had hit. My daughter had just been born. Everything was looking pretty bleak. Was it 2015, 2016? Bad time.
What?
Um,
No,
no?
pandemic,
Oh my
like
God, no, not 2016.
2020, not
2020.
2015.
You know what?
You're
It
thinking
feels
I
like
was
we've
a
been
about
in it
I
for
was a
8 years.
child will
presidency.
destroy your sense of time, and I had a bad sense of time beforehand anyway.
Oh my God.
That's pretty bad. Yeah, yeah. No, it was just a bad time. I'm trying. I'm just
It was
thinking
a
it
good, it was a bad, good time. Yeah.
was good. Yeah.
Probably not great to say my daughter was just born. It was terrible.
No, I mean like the world was on fire. Bad kind of level.
Yes.
She was anyways things were going bad in the world and the pandemic was going on, so I just had this little like beacon of hope, who had just been born, and even though things were so terrible, seeing the potential in her. All the cliches about having kids are true. There's a reason that they're cliches, and I've really felt you tried to channel that emotion into what I wrote for that. So
Definitely. I think, yeah, I think you did mention that earlier in the interview to that specific. So sorry if I had you repeat
Oh,
yourself.
so good.
um, let's see. So, personal favorite music from the Star Wars animated series.
Oh, from animated series?
man,
Oh,
there's a lot of good moments. Burying the dead is always close to the
Oh
top
yeah.
of my mind. I think that'll be my answer since it was just the first one that popped in my head.
Mm-hmm.
that feels like cheating. That's the end of the show.
It's a good cue.
Pick the last one.
Um, that's interesting. Okay, I don't know that this is my all-time favorite, but because it was so freaking ridiculous, was tech racing. I
Oh
love
yeah,
Oh,
how we got to do that.
I
yeah.
That
love
was
that one.
it was ridiculous. It was
Mhm.
insane. And they were just like, yeah. And we are like, are you sure? This is crazy. And no, they're like everyone was super into it and really just kind of let us do whatever we want, but it felt right and it feels like it made it really fun. And yeah, that was a really good time, and it felt like a really cool moment to take a left turn, especially with tech, where it's like, oh, all of a sudden he's just like a fucking badass racer, like NASCAR driver or whatever.
Because
Um,
of course.
of course,
Yeah.
yeah. And look at like, yeah, he knew what he was doing. He knows how
I'm
to
not.
do this shit. He's
I'm not gonna
capable.
lie. I felt like an absolute doing my like composing my bits of that race. Just like, oh no,
I
I'm
was,
gonna turn this up.
yeah, I was sure. I was like, there's no way they're gonna go for this. This is insane. This
At
is
least
like,
I'm having a
this
blast.
is borderline goofy. But yeah, I don't know. I think it works really. I thought it like kind of breaks things up in a really fun
Yeah.
way. Yeah, that was a cool one. a lot of our Tales stuff, like you were
Hmm.
saying, we
Oh right. Oh
we
my
were
gosh.
so excited about those. Like, I want to say it was, I I'm trying to figure out if we knew that like Ahsoka was getting a live action show at that point. Um, and but it was just like exciting to have her character back again, um, and be telling like a different part of her story, and to be telling the story of another like huge Star Wars character like Dooku. And it was just really cool to like it felt, especially with those shorts, that Dave was like, let's make a music video.
Mm.
Well, I have like 10 lines of dialogue or something in
Yeah.
those episodes. And so you're gonna basically have to tell the story for us, and or like along with just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was that was a really cool project.
Yeah, that was the one I think out of any Star Wars project of late to where the music stands out the most. It really does carry the story a lot. So I really loved what you guys did there.
Thank you.
And that actually back to the Bad Batch. So that's Brad Rao and Jennifer, is it Corbett or Corbet?
Well, I'll
Perfect.
call her Corbet next time.
Was it
Next
Corbett or
time.
is it Corbett?
I've been calling her Corbett. I hope.
Okay, I think that's what I wasn't sure. I was like overthinking if it was silence. Um, but what was it like working with them in kind of in contrast to Dave?
They are so much fun.
Yeah,
Not that Dave's not fun, but I mean, I don't know if it's not really a
they have a
contrast
very
thing. It's just
different sense of humor from Dave. I'll just kind of say that.
yeah, for sure. They're just I don't know. They're just a freaking blast. I look forward to every meeting that we have with them. So.
There's it's so funny, like the different kinds of things that we really have common ground with Brad and Jen, opposed to like Dave, who like we have different, like we're like talking classical music, we're talking about like different things. He likes hockey, we'll talk about that, whatever. But like with Brad, like Kevin and Brad can talk about baseball pretty much the entire session, and like make the whole studio like bankrupt with just meetings talking about baseball. And like I could do the same probably with Brad. We were talking about like
Breath of
Animal
the Wild.
Crossing, especially when
Yeah.
we first started because it was pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
He like plays a lot of Switch games, like especially with his kids. And like I was like excitedly texting him about all the music in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom
Mm-hmm.
when it
Mm-hmm.
came out. I was like, there's saxophones in it. Did you listen to it yet? And he's like, I haven't played it yet. so, so it's just like it's such a different dynamic, and but like you can really like see the influence that Dave Filoni has on the people that he works with,
Mm-hmm.
because they everyone talks about like just like it's like all it's like a love fest. Everyone is so happy. Everyone's so excited about what they're doing, and they're like also it's so collaborative, and it doesn't feel like antagonistic at all. They're never like, oh, freaking Dave made me change this. It was like, oh, this was funny because we went too far with this. So Dave was like, remember to like, but it's always like that, and it's fun to like see like that Dave is basically mentoring them. He's trying to be intentional with the way he's mentoring them, because in the way that he was mentored by George.
Mm.
And it's really fun to see like that kind of develop, and it feels really that like he's accomplishing it really well with
Mm-hmm.
the Bad Batch is turning out.
Mm-hmm. No, I thought with yeah, I've had that similar thought with Bad Batch becoming. I think when it started out, everyone was saying, "Oh, it's continuation of Clone Wars." That type of. I mean, same animation style. That's a logical thing to say,
Sure.
but it's really become its own thing as it's continued, and I feel like it has that identity. You can tell this is different creators, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And have you guys started working on season 3 at all?
Yeah, we can say yes.
I don't think we can say how far we are,
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, but you have.
but
Okay.
we have begun working on it, to say the least. Um, Ooh, season
When
3.
is it? When is it releasing? Because it's like since it's
We
so.
don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I feel like
Haven't yet.
They haven't
Um,
released.
yeah, I think that'll kind of end up being up to Disney Plus and that kind of thing. Um, ooh, it's it's heavy. It's good.
Mhm.
We're really proud of it. There's some really cool stuff happening in it. There's
Some really beautiful moments too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, like they're really kind of pushing us again to like be really um like experimental and to just kind of have our own sound with it. They're like let's do something like different, more out kind of. And I think it's really led to some cool musical moments.
Very cool. With and then there's Tales of the Jedi season 2 coming up. I know
Yeah,
that's been announced. So is that something on your you guys are
Is there
it's
something?
in
Is that been? Is there a word out on that?
yeah, that's been
yeah,
announced.
it's been
It
Okay.
was that was announced at Celebration. Yes.
Okay.
I'm not
Sean's
trying
just
to
trying to
go
make
that
sure
out
you're
of you.
not tricking us
No,
into
yeah.
actually.
That would be yes, that would be a good tactic.
Yeah. We haven't started on that yet, though.
No, yeah,
We have
we
no
have
idea what it's
yet to
about.
begin, but
So
it's
thankfully we
coming
can't
up.
spoil anything.
Yeah.
I'm hoping dearly for a Plo Koon short. That's just
Like,
I bet Dave Filoni himself is also
him
uh,
finding
for
Ahsoka or
that too,
something.
honestly.
yeah, the one I was hoping, I mean, you see him in like the background in the Ahsoka episode, but he didn't get any dialogue. I'm just really
They
hoping
made
he
the model, so it's like,
yeah,
might
it's
as
there.
well.
Come on. All right. Well, I'll well
Is your name a reference to like the things that to something Dave said?
yes, the Plo Kool.
Yeah.
Yes, so funny enough, so growing up, when the Clone Wars season 1 DVD came out, uh I remember getting that vividly. I remember going out and getting that. Or actually getting that for Christmas. Um and I remember it came with those little art booklets
Oh, okay.
and it had all these sketches and I remember like, 6-year-old me back in 2008, flipping through it and then I saw these like little marker sketches next to some of these ones with the Plo Kool, like Plo Koon, and Plo Koon was my favorite character growing up, just because I don't know, I was a weird kid. I was just like that guy. He's cool.
No,
He's my favorite.
totally.
No,
There's
he's
something
awesome.
about
Yeah, he's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, and then in Clone Wars, I mean, he's in some of the first episodes, and he's like Gandalf. It's like, and I was even talking to James Arnold Taylor, and that was the direction that Dave gave him. It was just like do a Gandalf impression and then we'll distort it.
Oh,
So then
Yeah,
Matthew
yeah.
Wood did the distortion. So that's what I was just like, oh,
Mhm.
I
that's
didn't know
great.
that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, I loved his character. And then when I started this account like 6 years ago, I was just like, oh, that would be a good account name. So that's what I went with. And then I had the logo made for it too. I was just like, I want to make it like Duke Silver, Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec
Right.
with
That's
with the
totally what it is.
saxophone.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then I wanted it to be like Blues Brothers, so a mix of Blues Brothers with the Duke Silver.
Very nice.
I was
Wow.
just like, you can't get any cooler than that, right?
Well, I mean, he's kind of already got his
He's
like
got the
perfect
goggles.
sunglasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it's been funny when I've met people, like Sam Witwer or something, because I have these buttons that I'll give out to like cast members that I meet, and they like Sam like got a kick out of it. Ashley, Matt, they all loved it. It was just hilarious.
Very
I think
cool.
even Anne, Dave's wife, I think uh, thought it was hilarious. So I just get joy now from from people's reactions to it.
That's really good. Love it.
But I think I won't keep you guys any longer here, but so Ahsoka comes out next month, and is there any
Literally
other
1 month, August 23rd.
yeah, I'm excited because I start my next semester in college the day
Hey.
after it drops. So I have
You're so
that
close.
day. I have that day to watch the
Oh,
first
okay,
two
okay,
episodes.
good.
Yeah.
Ahsoka era.
Yeah, exactly. So and then I know you can plug what's that Edgar Allan Poe
Oh yeah, we're working on this short with good friends of ours, and it's called "I'm in Love with Edgar Allan Poe." Where I'm helping produce it. We're gonna do the music for it. It's just gonna be like a really cute, fun, like Filipino centric, like a Filipino American centric, uh, short film about two teenagers who are just trying to raise Edgar Allan Poe back from the dead because we all make really weird decisions when we're teenagers. And it captures that energy. It made me so nostalgic how when we were filming it, just like, oh my God, this is exactly what it's like being a kid.
Hmm.
Like of course we were just like we thought we were so cool, like and we thought we were gonna like change the world and yeah, oh, I'm very excited about that. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, definitely. Alrighty. Well, thank you for joining me in this experience. First time doing it, but I had a good time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
dude,
having us.
good work. You're doing great.
Yeah.
All right. So that was my interview with Sean and Deana Kiner of Kiner Music. Thank you for watching. I know the my outro for the interview itself was a little abrupt, um, but again, it's my first time doing an interview in this format. I usually do written interviews, so I enjoyed the challenge of doing something new, and I liked the very laid back conversational nature of it, and I hope to do more interviews like this down the road. I think I'm going to be talking with Sean and Deana again, hopefully sometime soon once Ahsoka um, comes out. We recorded this interview was last month. I think even in the interview we mentioned, yeah, it was in July. So now that we're just a few days away from the premiere of this show, I thought it would be a good time to release this. Um, and yeah, I'm happy with how it turned out. I would, of course, any feedback would be great. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll have more stuff like this for you guys down the road. So thanks again. Have a good one.